That's better, right? Yeah. Nice. All right.
Yeah.
Skylar was giving me shit because there's no intro at the beginning. There's none of us there's none of us doing, hey, welcome back to Unbearable. We're going to be talking about a movie today. It's Chris and it's Kurt. I was like, yeah, we don't do that because that's really fucking stupid.
Yeah, our names are under Unbearable, under the title.
It's
when
right
you
there.
click on it.
We don't want to be that unbearable.
The movie's supposed to be unbearable.
Right. The podcast is also pretty unbearable too, but we don't want to be that kind of unbearable. We have the intro, we have a laugh track.
Oh, laugh track.
And now that you said it,
yeah, you said it actually, but
well, you agreed with it. Now that's enough for me.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of times where one of us makes a joke and nobody laughs. You didn't hold out. That was supposed to be one of them.
I was trying, but holding out was too funny to me. We found out who J-Dog was.
Who's that?
It out. It's Justin.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Well,
but it's okay. There is a beer sitting here for you, boss, and
it'll be drank before you get here.
It'll be drank before you get here. So come on by for a movie you didn't watch.
I feel like you should have already known that was Justin.
I had a feeling. It was, and then I saw him on Wednesday, and was like, "Are you J-Dog?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Yeah, you think other people listen to your show?
No one else is listening. It's
if
just
you
me.
haven't personally told somebody to listen to this, they're not listening.
Correct.
That's
correct.
Yeah, I haven't told anybody.
So literally, what I mean is, if you
personally
didn't tell anybody, they're not listening. Yeah,
my father's listening.
He is.
So that's nice.
I didn't tell him.
Well, yeah. Well, see, I told somebody.
You told one?
I told one person. Yeah.
And who does he tell?
He doesn't talk to people.
Oh, shit.
He's pretty. He talks to as many people as I do. So if you call him.
Oh.
That'll be, yeah.
He won't call me, just like you, he won't call me out of the blue, huh?
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. Only to return a call.
That you're out.
That's all the reasons.
You're returning. Yeah. No, I don't have another one.
No.
I thought for a second I was going to
Even if you're going to cancel, you'll wait till I call you to confirm. Then you'll cancel.
You seem very good at checking to confirm.
Well, I have to.
I don't think that's true. I called last week to push this back and make these come out even less often than they already do.
Yeah. That's good. It's good for the metrics.
Yeah. Oh, people love that in a podcast.
Inconsistency.
Yes.
If there's one thing I learned about podcasting, it's inconsistency.
Yeah, you want to be surprised when it hits your feed.
Oh, look at that.
And then
new episode.
Yeah.
And then when you're craving one, you're like, man, I want to hang out with those two retards.
I've subscribed to some podcasts that come out about 3 times a year. I literally don't know why they make them.
For fun. Shits and giggles, an excuse to get together and drink and talk.
I'm always blown away to see that little number in the corner. Man, this dude he came out with one again. Let me check when the last one was. 2023. Wow. Still on the same feed, too.
Oh,
that's what's crazy.
How is this still up? Do you have to pay for these? No.
Yeah, that is a good question.
You have to pay for them.
Oh, good.
There are free ways of doing things,
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. All right. You want to talk about Spaceman?
Not really.
That's pretty fair.
I thought we would just let this rambling happen long enough that we'd be like, all right, that's a show.
Yeah, there you go. There we go. We kind of didn't talk about anything.
Yeah. I think that's what talking about this movie is going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I was trying to think earlier today about like, all right, so like, maybe we should like come back to a format a little bit, of like going through the movie almost scene for scene. There's really no fucking point to doing that.
Yeah. Do you have your notes?
Not scene for scene, because the whole movie just kind of lingers. It just kind of happens.
Yeah.
There's no real plot happening other than, he is a week away from the cloud, and then he's in the cloud.
Yeah. There was also, I felt like at one point early on there was going to be a back and forth between Earth and the ship.
Oh yeah, I can
A
feel that.
lot
Yeah.
more, especially with the following of the wife and them getting a hold of her and
Mhm.
her being, and then there was just like this really long break. Like there was the first few things happen really quick. There's the guy that notices the message, says we
Yeah.
have a problem.
The message was her telling Adam Sandler's character that they're done, that they're breaking up.
Yeah, the wife Lenka, who
Lanka, that was the name. Lanka.
I'm trying to figure out. They talk on a faster than light FaceTime, and yet this one message is delivered as a message that she doesn't plan on going back and forth. I did not so there's some messages that they do that talking every day, but then she has a separate way where she just kind of sends videos to the program.
I guess so. That's a good point. Yeah, because he talks in real time to his buddy Peter, was his name, I believe.
Yeah.
In at ground control in real time. At the very least, the movie is doing a very good job of convincing you it's real time. There's no reason for me not to think it's real time.
Yeah, I mean they call it real time. The interview is supposed to be in real time.
The interview's in real time. Yeah,
And her breakup message includes
it's
talking.
an email.
Yeah. But she refers to the fact that when they get on the real time talks, there's a bunch of silence and that they're not really talking. And she's kind of talking about it as a distance. So even in the breakup message that's left as a message, this is like when you send voicemails without actually calling and
Yeah.
having the
Yeah.
voicemail pick up. You
Yeah.
just send the voice message.
Yeah,
Like she just sends this one separately, and it's the only thing that doesn't go direct. It goes
it
through
gets
the space
screened.
program.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
So she does she do that on purpose then? Like, I mean, I can get like sending. I can almost get behind sending a message versus like talking in real time. I can almost get behind that idea, but for some reason, this is the way that gets screened.
Yeah. She knows she has other ways of communicating this, and she's like, I want this to go through different channels.
Yeah, I want someone else to see this first.
Who would inevitably stop it.
Yeah.
It's one of the more believable things in it. I love that somebody stops it, that he goes to the commissioner, the Isabella Rossellini character.
Mm-hmm.
She says, I'm going to get on this. I'm going to go out there. That's when I thought things were moving quickly and they were going to go back and forth. And it just does not come back to Earth in a while. It goes back to Peter a couple of times with him talking back and forth, but they don't pick up on her going out there for a long time, I felt.
Yeah. It seems like it takes them a long time to find her or even care to find her.
I guess that could be part of it, but even in those, I mean, I feel like formatting wise of a movie, that's a line of dialogue that it was longer, not because it's always going to be longer than this day-to-day thing he's going through.
It's true. That's true. Yeah.
That's just not how you break up scenes and stuff. To your point, it feels meandering, and I think that might be part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you're right. And then there's one visit from the commissioner chick to Lanka to be like, you can't leave him. You gotta, And then there's another huge long section of nothingness, and then Peter coming to her and be like, he's on the phone. He wants to talk to you towards the end of the movie.
Yeah, I think, and the only thing in between then is Lanka visiting what I believe is her mother.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know if that was actually expressly said, but yeah. They said she's going to her mother's house. That's kind of how Isabella Rossellini finds her.
Yeah.
I guess to set the stage, since we're not going to go scene for scene, but to go a little bit to the beginning.
Yeah.
He does wake up on a ship. The movie starts with him on a spaceship going out to a cloud near Jupiter. He's about 180 some days in, just about to get there, and we're introduced to him as Adam Sandler's character,
Jakob.
as
Jakob.
he is going to give an interview to Earth, as he is going to maybe not save the world. There's no real indication that this is a threat to Earth, but he's kind of a world hero on Earth and especially a Czech hero for being an astronaut who is going to figure out why this cloud in space has made the skies purple for the last 4 years.
Yeah. That cloud is what's the name of that cloud?
I wish you wouldn't have asked me that.
The problem is I wrote it down, but I can't remember how to pronounce it.
Give it a guess. I want to hear it.
Chopra?
Oh.
It is Chopra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
The Chopra cloud. This is like this big pink and purple cloud on the far side of Jupiter. And it's just been hanging out in our skies for about 4 years. Like you said, Jakob has been in this. He's about day 189 in his journey to Chopra. Did I say it differently?
Yeah,
Chopra. Right?
Chopra sounds right.
I think so. Which is he's halfway through his journey. He's about a week away from the cloud when he's doing the interview, because that's what they tell us.
Yeah.
He does a little interview, and this is where two of my biggest gripes with this movie comes from. Number one, Adam Sandler's horrible fucking accent. Will he, won't he accent the movie? Because he starts off with this kind of subtle Czech accent, and it's not even, I don't even know if I don't know Eastern European.
It's vaguely Eastern European.
It's just vaguely Eastern European.
It's also not very strong, so it sounds like somebody that
has been working really hard to get rid of an accent, maybe?
Yeah, for most of his life. Like, he grew up there, and then when he was like 16, moved to not just any English-speaking language, but America.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, not England, not another European country.
Not
America.
Learning English from somebody else that speaks it secondhand. It's very much American. But I'm actually, you say will, he won't. He won't. He stops after this first couple of scenes, and I'm glad. I don't think, there's no reason.
No.
You know, if he spoke another language, that would be, do it fully in that language. If the character is supposed to speak another language, which I don't know that he is, it's the Euro space program, they say in this interview.
Yeah.
Presumably to make everything, well, I don't know. The EU does use a lot of translators and a lot of things, but to the extent that they need people working in certain situations, English is kind of the go-to language to.
Sure. Makes sense. But even in the first scenes of him talking, that first interview scene, he is dropping in and out of that accent.
Yeah.
And it was already kind of subtle, like on the back end of words or at the back end of a sentence or something. And then it just disappears. And then it comes back. And then it disappears. And then it comes back. And then thankfully, you're right, 2-3 scenes later, it's just gone.
Yeah. I never hear it again the entire rest of the time.
Yeah.
The spider doesn't have an accent of any kind, even though he's well, whatever. He's coming to humanity through Jakob, apparently. And
learned English from his brain?
Yeah, apparently a brain that if we were ever supposed to take that as an accent, would have known English as a second language. So, as I understand it, that's how accents are formed.
Yeah, usually. So I only speak one language. Shocking.
Yeah, I'm blown away.
I know. But do you think, I don't know, what if you know two languages, like, pretty well, which one do you think in? Probably your first language, right?
I would imagine.
So if he has an accent and he thinks in Czech, then the spider should be speaking to him in Czech then, right? Who knows?
One would think.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Would that ever be answered in this movie? No. Will anybody care other than us? Also, no.
No.
But that's not the point.
No.
I am a nerd, and I am staring at this movie, and I have these questions. And you didn't do anything to answer them. Thank you. Why? I guess the point of this little rant is like, just either do an accent or don't do an accent. In your case, in Adam Sandler's case, don't do an accent. Just leave it that way. And in that reason, why is Adam Sandler here?
That accent was terrible, but I actually, the first few minutes of this movie left me believing there was some potential. I thought that the interview seemed nightmarish in like a very realistic astronaut interviews with person on Earth, kid from class wins whatever prize to be able to ask the question. They ask it in the way that a child that's not ready to be on TV would ask it.
Just bluntly.
The bureaucrat kind of puts on a big smile. I think what she means is not that you're a lonely person who might go crazy and kill himself up there.
Not that you've been on a ship for 6 months. And, we're kind of worried.
But rather, this has never happened before because because no matter how crazy space programs have been, nobody is psychotic enough to send a human being entirely by themselves. 6 months is to get there. Apparently, this plan is for well over a year for this person to be in absolute isolation, which is by all other standards torture. That's called torture. Isolation for a year at a time.
Yeah. There's a reason why solitary confinement is a punishment in prison.
Yeah.
It's the punishment for people who are being punished.
Yeah, and when you get to the year, it's now cruel and unusual and no longer like even fit for harsh prisons.
Yeah, I don't think they're legally allowed to do that anymore.
I don't think it's against. I think it's against the Geneva Convention or something like that.
You can't just put somebody. What another point is, we also learn in this section that the Koreans are pretty close behind where the Czechs are. They're only like a day or two behind.
I love that at the end we find out that the Koreans put more than one person on their ship.
That's what I was going to say. Is like in the background we already see more people than one. Wait, so you guys were smart.
Common human decency would determine.
Yeah. I bet the Koreans were sitting there like, there'd be more than one person. I don't care if we miss a day of launch. We need 2 people up there.
Oh, the ship's going to need to be a little bit bigger with a little bit more food. Yeah, we kind of took that into consideration before launching this ship.
Yeah. Which later, this mission, we later find out that Yakov volunteered for and like tried to get. He really wanted this mission. And, because this whole movie is basically just a therapy session. A series of therapy sessions that Yakov wanted this mission not only to be the first to be this far away from Earth, but to be alone.
Yeah.
But I don't really know why I brought that up at this moment. But
well, to finish my few good things I was going to say about the beginning of this movie, I did he wakes up, the ship kind of looks cool.
The ship looks great.
The first time he turns off the, whatever air suction that is clearly on maybe a urinal part that's separate of the toilet or something, it was hard to piece quite together, but that's what I got out of it because the toilet's what's giving him issues later.
Yeah.
It also looked like something that was so easy to stop up that I don't know why it keeps happening, but whatever. The first time he does it, it hasn't happened a bunch yet, so I was fine with that. Does the interview. The Lenka? The Lenka thing comes up. Really, just horrible. Like no matter what you're going through in your marriage, like that, there is a cruelty to waiting till they're 6 months out in space to suddenly leave them while you're pregnant.
Yeah, that's really fucked up.
I know there are people with horrible situations in relationships. If they should get out.
Yeah.
There's no reason for this outside of being extra cruel, which is why I just like he should be like a coercive
Yeah.
beating her. She had no other way to get out until he was 6 months away from
Right.
Earth for this to make any sense.
Yeah.
In a way that makes her not just a cruel person.
Yeah, because we find out later through these therapy sessions that he's been so distant the entire time
Yeah.
of the relationship,
Or
to
at least
the point where she's been begging for his attention in the smallest degree,
Yeah.
and he still can't. He could barely do that,
Great reasons to end a relationship.
A year ago,
Again.
2 years ago,
Yeah,
3
which
years
she
ago.
even says
Yeah.
when she's telling her mother, like, and her mother's like, "This is a terrible time for this," and she's like, "Yeah, it should have been before," and it's like, "Yeah, lady,
yeah.
like it's either before or after. This is the 1 year that you can't. Like, I'm sorry, you're just not.
It's just big blacked out zone.
There's no way that you're not a
total bitch." When we find out that she's breaking up with him, I was on his side. I'm like, what a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
He's in space.
Yeah.
He can't. I mean, like, he better be hitting you.
Yeah. I mean, you really got at this point for that to be done so horribly. Like, somebody does need to be a bad guy. Like, he needs to be. He can no longer be the protagonist of this. That's just not the type of bad relation. Then they have a bad relationship.
Yeah.
It's not the type of bad relationship where you do this backstabbing thing and it's just what you got to do or whatever.
It's so backstabby that it's like, yeah, I'm going to like break your mind
Yeah.
for the rest of your life.
And possibly destroy this mission that also has investments of lots of other people's lives and time and may or may not be extremely significant, if not. I mean, they never really say anything about a threat to the world that makes this that necessary, but
no, the stakes are that's another thing that pisses me off about this movie is that the stakes are so low, but yet the drama is so over the top and extra that it comes off as like disingenuous. It's like why is this so big? Why is this so extreme?
There would need to be a major threat to Earth for you to come up with the plan that we need to get this ship off the ground so fast and with such limited resources that it needs to be one guy.
Yeah.
Like, if it's just for scientific research, figure out how to get 2 people on there before you launch the ship. Like, it's just that that simple.
That is a really good point. Yeah. Why would this even? Why was this a solo mission at all?
Yeah.
That he's been training for a long time. While they were assumably building this ship. You couldn't pick 2.
Yeah.
You couldn't pick 2 cosmonauts to go with you.
So and to finish off my contention that the beginning of this movie had potential to be a decent movie. You've got these few things that are dramatic happening right in a row. They're scrambling down at mission control to make sure he doesn't know that his wife's leaving him.
Yeah.
He's immediately asking about it because he's noticing she's not picking up.
Yeah.
And our introduction to the spider makes me think that there is going to be like this horrible space body horror, infectious. Our first introduction to the spider is in a dream. The spider crawls under his skin, almost comes out his nose, goes back under his skin. You see it crawling under his skin, and then starts to come out of his mouth. And as he starts to panic and freak out, he wakes up. I thought that looked awesome.
Great effects. Again, this movie is gorgeous.
Really pumped about where it was going. Other effects throughout the movie. The visuals of this cloud looked great.
Yeah.
Adam Sandler floating through the ship always looked really good.
Yeah, it did.
Almost immediately after he meets the full-size spider, and it goes downhill from there. This is the long period where it doesn't go back to Earth, doesn't go back to Lenka for a while.
It's just scene after scene of past. Of him reliving parts of his past in a weird fisheye lens. And I uh I think this is where like the chewiest parts of the movie actually start. I think like in terms of like is this a good movie goes downhill. But like the like actual stuff to like think about actually starts. Cuz even with that first scene of being introduced to the spider underneath his skin, now we have to question is this thing real?
Yeah.
Which is the only the most interesting part of this whole movie, in my opinion.
Since it never goes back to that type of stuff, and I think by the end we are supposed to think it's real. Um,
I
I
disagree.
I wonder whether. Okay, well, I guess we'll have to get into that, but I did wonder why something that could make him go back in his own memories and keep kind of re-envisioning them. Well, not re-looking at them, going over them when Hanus is looking, the name eventually given to the spider, um, is looking at his Adam Sandler's memories. He's also seeing them. Yakov is also seeing them. Seems strangely torturous for somebody that has that kind of control over his mind to give him a horrible nightmare to start it all off as. And in fact, that seems like a really good reason why Yakov his first instinct would be to disinfect the
Yeah.
try to gas
Yeah.
out this giant spider.
Yeah.
Which is the one visual that does not look good is this fucking spider.
Oh no. And the spider only to jump you're right. The spider looks awful most of the time. There are a few shots that I'm thinking about where like we're seeing a lot of the hair detail and stuff that look really really good.
Near the end, he has a mouth with teeth.
Well, near the end, well, what I was going to say is
Yes,
there
there
was
is some
good
hair
stuff,
that's good.
and
Yeah.
then at the very end, our last shot of Janusz is him like being consumed by the parasites. The I had to write this down. Grumpets, grumpets, whatever they're fucking called.
Sure.
Consuming him. It just looks like AI to me. I mean, it looks real bad.
Yeah.
You know?
Do something consuming something else, ChatGPT.
Yeah,
See what comes out.
exactly.
I guess it wasn't bad CG, the spider. It was just I didn't know why it was a big spider. The whole thing just seemed weird to me. And most of the time the two front like mandibles kind of move as he talks.
Yeah.
And when near the end, when it shows that mouth behind him, like I was like, this has to be a joke. Like, just keep the mandibles covering it. Like,
Yeah.
then you never know where the actual sound is coming from. But like this human mouth, I guess, is that one of the things that indicated to you that it wasn't real?
Yes. That was one of the things. But I think that the opening scene with Yakov having a nightmare of having the spider underneath its skin is a nightmare that he's having for himself. I don't think the spider is causing the nightmare. Kind of. Because the rest of my theory gets really woo-woo and very out there later. But I think that the nightmare represents Yakov creating the spider. And now he needs to he's having this horrible nightmare because he has to face these demons in isolation, and it's going to be painful and gross, and it's going to get under your skin, and it's going to be the point where you can't speak, and that's why it's in its mouth. And I just saw a lot more metaphor in that scene, I guess, than you did.
I racked my brain to look for more metaphor in the overall movie. Maybe not in that scene exactly. To be honest, I was going to say I needed some sort of explanation as to why the thing that presented itself was a spider without, if it was in his mind, and you're kind of saying the explanation is that first scene.
Yeah.
But even beyond that, I was looking for it in greater context as like, okay, this whole movie is sci-fi scenery, and it's set with this storyline, but the real point is just a person going away, dealing with his own inner demons, which would be if this spider wasn't real, and coming to some sort of understanding about, I don't know. Well, obviously, understanding that he was distant to his wife and what he really needed in the world was his wife, and
Yeah.
that he actually does love her and that he should treat her better. And thank God the Koreans are a day behind because they will rescue him. And then it never being real, So my problem with that in the end is that if it wasn't real, I don't think the main character should chase a metaphor to death, to seeming death, to suicide after he's come to the conclusion that what he really needed was his wife. So much so that ground control, the people most invested in this thing working, and just kind of seeing him as a machine to get the job done, telling him what he needs to hear to keep his mind right. Even they tell him to abandon the mission because everything is falling apart as he's going into the cloud.
Yeah.
And then he's like, no, I must sacrifice myself and getting back to my wife for this metaphor.
Well, yeah. Well, first off, I'm not saying it's a good metaphor.
Well, I'm just, if it was a the writing, I feel like if the writers knew that that was a metaphor, I'm not saying the character couldn't lose his mind, think that this thing was real and need to go after it in some way. But the thing that he would have realized in such a situation was what was most important. And that would be to not follow.
Get back to his wife, not go die.
What's it called again?
Lenka.
Hanush. Not follow Hanush.
Oh yeah, not follow. Get back to Lenka and not follow him into die on the other side of Venus, or other side of Jupiter. But number one, I'm not saying it's a good metaphor, and I'm also not saying he is completely in the right state of mind, because he's been in a space capsule for 6 months.
Yeah.
He's not.
That's why I thought he was crazy, and it was all, in his mind and a metaphor again. But I still don't think, I think the movie makes a good point. It would make sense in the movie for it to all be in his mind. It wouldn't make sense as a movie to then still not learn the lesson that he was supposed to learn by
he better
what he thinks is sacrifice. Like, he should be like, no, oh my God, that thing, even if he doesn't realize it's in his mind, that thing made me realize this thing, and what's truly important is Linka.
Yeah. I think that would be true if, because the spider at some point gets bored with hanging out in Yakov's mind, right? And it's saying like, oh,
and it's kind of disgusted by him.
You're a disgusting person. Not only are you a self-centered, egotistical a narcissist, but you don't even care that other people exist around you. You have no curiosity on like small things, but even big things like her hopes and dreams. You don't care about any of that. You just care that there's someone next to you. So this could be anybody, right? So so he leaves, right? And then Yakov has to realize how much of an asshole he really is in life, right? Because there's like a base layer of narcissism of like, I didn't love you enough, I didn't care about you enough, and then there's like, oh, I don't care about anybody other than me, And if Yakov, if his only job was to, realize, if the only point was to realize, oh, I love my wife more than what I have been expressing, then he would have stayed in the space capsule and watched Janusz die. Instead, he goes out because he actually cares about somebody else more than himself.
All right.
And then, so this also leads...
The Koreans never see Hanush, so that is more evidence of...
The Koreans never see Janusz, and they don't mention it, at least in the movie. I did hear on one of those videos I watched just to refresh my memory that there is a astronaut that mentions seeing Janusz in the book.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. So
Yeah.
I also, neither one of us read the book, and I believe both of us found out that it was
Yeah.
based on a book today.
Yeah, yeah, which is
Um,
unfortunate because now I feel like I let you. I feel like I let your dad down.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I feel like I let J Dog down.
That was the one review I got from Mickey17 is that you read the book. Which,
Yeah, and he seemed very enthusiastic about that. I was very proud. I was like, I'm very happy. What's your dad's name?
Richard.
Richard. I was so excited to give.
He goes, "Why didn't you read the book?"
He's all mad at you. You're like that little fat Italian like just upshot you at this thing.
You knew I described you that way?
I just assumed.
That's how I describe you to everybody. I got this fat Italian friend. Have you ever seen the a pizza box, a cartoon on the top of a pizza box? That's what Chris looks like.
Have you ever played Super Mario Brothers, but like number 2 for the Game Boy Advance?
Yeah, just kind of the vague outline of a person's body.
It's a grand total of 7 pixels put together. That's Chris right there in a
Yeah.
nutshell.
He's actually in black and white
It's
all
weird.
the time. The
It's
original
weird.
Game Boy, yeah.
Sometimes he's in green, depending on the color of the day.
I thought it was his brother.
So the other half of the base layer of my theory of like Janusz not being real is only the base layer, because I do think another part of that real fast in terms of evidence for my theory is that Janusz changes size constantly. The first time we see him, he's very large in a corner of the corridor, and then later we see him hugging, Yakov, and he looks like damn near the size of his torso, and then at the end, he's like very, very small, getting pulled through the cloud. So he's changing size a whole bunch, and I think I don't know exactly what that would be a metaphor for. Maybe the amount of power.
There's a bad editing.
That could be it too, but I don't know. The movie is so pretty that I can't go by that.
Yeah, that's very true. Although, I mean, yeah, aliens change sizes sometimes.
I suppose.
It could be a Q.
Yeah, it could be a Q. All right. Well, then that kind of brings us into the woo-woo thought process of the second part of my theory of.
Are we sure, since you brought up the book and that was seen by the other shuttle, which was Russians in the book, are we sure Koreans didn't see him right before? I know they don't really make a point of it, but it's almost like he's right there in the background. And I think
like
just nothing gets said as the Koreans are kind of rescuing him out in space.
Yeah. Nothing from the movie. I don't think we get any indications from the movie. It would be totally coming from the book. And in which case, I couldn't tell you.
So I did not read the book. I read a quick synopsis of the book because I just found out it existed today.
Nice.
They do make plenty of changes. It seems weird. It would seem strange to me that one of the changes they would make is that Janusz goes from being a real alien to being all in Yakov's head.
Yeah.
Considering, one of the Russians see Janusz in the book. Also, his wife does leave him while he's gone. His initial, this is from a quick synopsis again. His initial reaction is to send people after her to kind of spy. Or keep tabs on Lenka. He has he's still talking to Earth, and he's a big name cosmonaut. He's got connections.
So
and
he knows she left him in the book?
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
Which he almost seems to in the movie. They never send that message, but Janusz keeps saying, you didn't miss her until she left.
Yeah.
And
I guess that could also mean before she stopped, like she left your world because she's not picking
She
up your
stopped picking up.
calls.
Yeah,
You know?
but
And
I
Janusz
think
kind
he's-
of talks odd, right? So like that could just mean she's gone, she left, kind of like a computer program. If you're like a first person shooter game, everything I look at this direction is real. Everything behind me is gone. You know what I mean?
I feel like there's a few comments being made where I think we're supposed to get that he kind of gets at.
Yeah.
Like the third time he asked Peter, have you looked into this? And I still,
Oh.
what, did she still not pick up? That's
Whoa.
weird.
Wow.
Like it's
you sure there's
almost,
something not wrong with the phone?
yeah, I hope it's not so bad that we're supposed to believe that a cosmonaut and a guy working for the space program are so dumb that nobody knows what's going on even with that. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of becoming obvious, even if they don't want to send the exact message, that for him to actually see her saying, I'm leaving you.
Yeah.
I think it is supposed to be known. But yeah, he sends somebody after there. He gets picked up by the second shuttle, which is Russians and not Koreans.
Yeah.
It's a quick synopsis, so I couldn't figure out exactly why this was going to happen, but the Russians were going to imprison him, I guess, when they got back. But it was basically secretive. They didn't think there was a second group behind him. I should also say, it was a shorter mission, 6 months total, and the cloud is between Earth and Venus.
Oh.
Makes much more sense.
Yeah.
They see the alien.
That almost changes the whole, but that almost changes his entire mental state.
It entirely. It makes it much. It still seems like more than one person should be on this mission, but it makes it a little
100%.
bit more
Yeah. Oh
reasonable.
yeah. Like 6 months. Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
You know?
I'd get away from everybody for 6 months right now.
Yeah. And you're gonna pay me? Fuck, man. Where do I sign? You know?
Yeah, can I go like watch something in Greenland or Antarctica or something?
Yeah,
on like
man, you know?
just pick me up in 6 months.
Yeah.
I'd freak
knowing-
out. I'm lying.
I know. You would have a new phobia by the end of it.
Yeah, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
One per month.
And your luck, it'll be the fucking lighthouse. It's very tight.
Yeah,
And that it's like a room this size, but this is all you get. Yeah.
I do visual jokes on this podcast.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah.
It's really good for our audio listeners.
Yes.
Yeah. Because the camera's working.
But apparently it concludes with him, he gets back to Earth. Well, there's a crash. He's the only survivor coming back, so nobody knew he got picked up. The ship is just destroyed when it gets into the cloud, which I guess is implied in the movie as well, but it kind of seemed like it took a while and he had to do some stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he left the ship of his own accord before it got destroyed, so that's why that was a little blurry in my mind still.
Yeah.
But
the first time watching it, I wasn't even 100% sure that like what really was going on during that. When Janusz left the ship, I kept thinking, why it's pointless for you to leave the ship. I don't really understand. If you could just, I'm still wrestling with, is he real? Is he not real? Before coming, this movie has been something I've been thinking about more than like rewatching or anything like that. So still wrestling with, is he real? Is he not? Why would he leave the ship? If he could just like bounce, he left already. He showed up there. Why does he need to go out there? Is he going to die? If he showed up onto the ship at some point, so why do you care? Why are you going outside? Very confused on like why any of this is happening. So which has distracted me from like the actual like, oh, the ship is deteriorating. The this is fucking up. This is fucking up. So all of that. The first time through the movie, that whole section is just kind of a blur of like, my brain just has to go, now they're outside.
yeah,
You know. And the ship's gone. They can't get back to it for some reason. He needs the Koreans.
yeah,
Chick,
Who let him call Lenka?
Yeah.
I mean, she picks up. So
Who
anyway,
doesn't know? It's got to be a different number.
right? Yeah,
It's got to be a number she doesn't recognize. right? It has to be, and it's not a number you could just call, right? It's got to be
Thank God.
unlisted.
I've been waiting for a call from Korea. I ordered
Oh,
some.
look at that.
I ordered.
Look at the Koreans are calling me. And she knows the Koreans are on his back, right? So like maybe this is a Korean spy who's just sloppy.
Yeah.
You know? Instead of using a Czech number, they're using a Korean number.
I did love that earlier, and when he got the first interference, I guess, before he meets Hanush, and one of the things he does is messes up the radio call.
Yeah.
Is somebody on our line, somebody hack our line somehow? He's like, no, Peter back on our.
Oh, yeah.
No, was it Korean? No, why would it be the Koreans?
Yeah.
Like they're right behind me. They don't need to fucking hack this thing.
Why yeah.
But
it's kind of funny. Kind of that, and that's honestly
those one of those few good lines that are actually in there
levity,
here and there.
The only levity in the entire movie is that one scene.
Yeah.
It's a shame it happened so early.
So in the book he goes home and does not get back with Lenka. Doesn't talk to her. He learns the error of his ways and realizes she'll be happier without him, and goes to live in his hometown. There's also I believe, bigger deal made out of the his father brought shame to the family by backing up the old totalitarian, like,
The commies.
communist government, and he so that is why he had the ever-present drive to become a hero, because he felt being a national hero would be the only way to get the stink of his father's shame out of his family. Which is kind of why she got so ignored. Like, this one almost seemed like, or in the movie, it almost seemed like they were in love. He was like smitten at the beginning, and pretty quickly it was more of like his ambition got in the way, more so than a need to clear his name, even if that's vaguely mentioned really quick when he's going through his memories. But it was so quick that I was just like, it wasn't a huge part of his.
It's not the message I got about his dad. You know?
Yeah.
Because we see the only image of his dad is him coming out of a shed to close the door, and he's got some naked dude on his knees with a battery clamped to his nipples. I could take this a lot of different ways, and then we're just told.
I've done that.
Yeah, I mean that's Saturday night. I mean, I don't know what you do in your shed.
I don't like the way this movie kink shames.
But proud of the bush. That man had a full bush.
It was the 80s.
Sure. The vibe that we see that image, and then the very next line out of Yakov's mouth is, "My dad was a great man. My father was a great man who had to do some very bad things." You know, so it sounds like the message that I got was that he was trying to live up to some ideal of his dad. That he was trying. That he always had a deep love and admiration for his dad. Not that he was ashamed of him in any sort of way.
I think he said something real quick about like people hated him, that his dad did have a bad rep. Like he was
it didn't he did say
maybe
that
he says that right before. I think people didn't like him for what he had to do, but he was a good guy that just
that right there seems more like admiration, like nobody liked him, but I he's my dad, I love him, you know. I still love him. You know, he was a great man. He did what he had to do for his family or whatever.
Yeah.
And like,
I mean, again, only reading a synopsis makes me very not able to speak on the book fully.
Sure. Yeah.
But I'm not even sure that everybody hating his family and his dad doing whatever his dad did, I'm not sure the character necessarily needs to hate his dad for it. He still could have thought he was a good dad, that just, you know, he still needed to get that off of his family.
I guess that is I guess
Worf
right.
still needs to clear Moog's name, even if Moog didn't do anything wrong to him.
Yeah.
He's dishonored in the in the Empire.
I was thinking Klingon. Yeah,
It's,
100%. Yeah, I was definitely thinking Klingons.
It's pretty hard to come up with other ways in which people need to like clear their family honor. Like it's
Yeah, but can you think of a different way, a different show, a different way of explaining honor other than the Klingons that just makes so much sense when you think about honor just in general? You
no.
know?
I think it needs. I mean, in you'd have to go back to the Middle Ages. Like I'm
Yeah,
an
yeah,
American. Sins of the father. We don't. It's just
yeah. And if you want to go back to the Middle Ages, the only thing worth reading is Don Quixote, and that's a fucking crazy guy. Have you ever read Don Quixote?
it's. I think it was required reading as like.
It's so long. And it's just story after story of Don Quixote just being a fucking problem everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
Just being an absolute crazy person. And then people are like, hey, what the fuck? Are you going to fix this? Are you going to help me? Or are you going to pay for that? Or whatever? And him going, I'm a knight. Leaves.
Yeah. 400 years later, I still got to read it in high school.
Yeah. And the one story that everybody, references when they talk about Don Quixote of like, tilting at windmills and like thinking they're giants in the distance happened so early in the book that like you could just read up to that and you could be done. You get the idea because it's a lot like Crime and Punishment where it's just crime, punishment, and then a crime, and then a punishment, and then a crime, and then a punishment. It's literally that for 1,000 pages or 800 pages. Although Crime and Punishment is actually good.
So good comparison.
Yeah. But
Hot take. Don Quixote, bad book.
oh
According to
man,
Crusades.
at me, bitches. I don't know.
Yeah, Justin.
He can't read.
That's never stopped a commenter online before.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. So that's interesting. I kind of there's part of me that really wants to read the book, but there's also part of me that's like I just want to be done thinking about this stuff, this story.
Yeah.
Because it's probably just because it's so melodramatic. Oh, no, that's not the word. Like overwrought of like this gigantic stage and just such a small little drama.
Yeah.
But
The book was much better reviewed than the movie, if that
yeah,
makes you want to
yeah.
at all.
It's getting like 50% on Rotten Tomato or something like that.
Oh, the movie?
Yeah.
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 That's generous.
Yeah, I would say so.
Again, I mean, you brought up the visuals. I do think there are a lot of really good visuals in it. The
Yeah.
cloud looks great. The ship looks great.
Yeah, in filmmaking wise, like I think there's a lot of cool ideas and a lot of cool things happening in the flashback sections, like the therapy sessions.
Yeah. Pacing's
oh.
not great.
No, pacing is awful. But also, I think the reason why I haven't, because like I like artsier movies, I like slower paced movies, if they're really done well, but I think one of the reasons why I don't like this one as much, despite like when I made the realization of like what this movie was the first time through, I was like, oh, I was kind of excited, like, oh, this should be kind of interesting, right? It didn't advertise itself this way. It advertised itself as being more action adventure-y, you know?
Oh yeah, there's almost is there like a 5-second scene at the beginning of him on some planet or something?
Yeah, yeah.
What is that?
So I think this is another metaphor that's it's not really happening, and it's not even happening in his mind. It's more like something for the filmmaker giving us. And I think I am not Russian, okay? But I think it is a metaphor for a Russian fairy tale of an adventurer, or like the solo hero out in the world trying to find themselves, That's nothing new, right? And it's nothing new in humanity, right? So every culture has a version of this, and the Russians have a fairy tale of your hero out in the swamps and stuff, and there's like this water nymph thing that's supposed to represent the realization of your past faults, and it's usually portrayed as that style of woman that we see in the movie, and it's like when they meet, it's like a way of maybe it was a Russian plays that did it a lot, but it was like a metaphor for like he figured it out. He figured out the thing. He got to it. He whatever the journey that he was on, it's now hit the point. It hit the climax. We're done. We figured it out.
I should have showed that later.
Well, they showed part of it, and then they showed him finding the nymph later. But they should have showed it all at once instead of. Well, I guess I don't know. Showing it in parts, in two parts.
You can't find it at the beginning because he hasn't figured it out at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a way of like signaling he's on a journey of self-discovery.
Yeah.
I guess. But I that nymph has a name that I don't know. I wrote it down, but there's no way in fuck I'm pronouncing that.
Yeah. Your last couple weren't that great.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no! If you had something right there, because I was
Yeah.
gonna say we should. Well, yeah. What were you saying?
Yeah, I got two specific points I want to touch on still. One is an actual conversation point, and the other one is just a nitpick, which I was about to bring up about the names. There's two names of things that pissed me off in this movie. The Grumpets, whatever the alien parasite that killed Janosch's species, who he's also so old that he's been around since the beginning of the universe, but yet he is mortal and can be killed and stuff. But not the point. They're called Grumpets. Grumpets. Who came up with this word? This sounds like something that would have been in Teen Titans or Scooby Doo. Why is this stupid word in my sci-fi here?
Yeah. Yeah.
My supposedly serious, like heartfelt, drama-filled sci-fi. Grumpets? What the fuck? Who named this? A child? And if a child did name it, you didn't workshop it? Writer, whoever wrote this name down originally? Like, you didn't think children's thoughts are so cute and whatever. Yeah, let's fucking give them some shape, huh?
Man, when you said you had nitpicks, these are you're getting down to them.
Oh, it's pissed me off because it's such a sloppy word,
Yeah.
It just pisses me off. And the other nitpick is the name of the technology that they use to talk to each other faster than light, which is called. I wrote it down because we talked about it briefly. Is the you were right. It's that whole line. That's the name of it. It's the Check Connect Quantum Faster Than Light phone.
Yeah. I mean, that's really all we got to do. We got to figure out quantum mechanics and the, quantum connection between.
Yeah, obviously.
And then we'll have it.
Right. And
I guess it's a way to give us a faster than light phone in the near future rather than later, where like you can just happen upon this. Like, we have no idea right now, but
yeah, I get
maybe it could just pop into existence all of a sudden. I mean,
Sure.
Check Connect is still cheesy.
Check Connect
even
is really
after
cheesy.
that. But yeah.
So is there were that we didn't really talk about it, but there is a cheesiness vibe to the whole his celebrity, because he's on baby wipes. He's on. They use his face to advertise stuff, in commercials and stuff, which is kind of cool. I like that. I don't know. There's a kitschiness to that I think is really real, and I like that a lot. So Check Connect is such a stupid name, and I find it less insulting than Grumpets, but I almost feel like the movie's making fun of me. I don't know how. I have no idea how, but I feel like you're making fun of me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and that you think it's like kitschy and real to need sponsors for any sort of science,
Yeah.
which I think
Yeah.
maybe we should just invest in science without needing to ask a pharmaceutical company to give money towards it and have your astronaut advertise it. But we got rid of that years ago.
Well, first off, this is the EU, not NASA, and good riddance to NASA.
They both got rid of it.
Yeah. Well, good. There was a bunch of Nazis there anyway. But that was another thing. Now, I'm all for, funding science, especially if we're going to go to if we're going to do cool stuff in space, but not if your astronaut's going to go insane and then jump out of the space capsule that I fucking paid for. That's
risk.
my tax. Sometimes shit happens, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's your dollars either way. You're going to pay more for the pharmaceuticals that are paying for the advertising that the advertising happens to be funding that thing. It's just now, either way, it comes out of your pocket, but now it's pretending to be charity given back to you by that pharmaceutical company rather than your own volition.
It wasn't my volition to begin with. They just take my taxes.
Yeah.
And then they spend it to, bomb children, not, go to space. But I could choose which sponsors I'd actually like to contribute to. If you had like 4 or 5 different sponsors to fund that mission, maybe I don't like any of those companies. I don't have to pay for any of those. I could go find their competitors.
They only have 3, and those they all do the same thing.
3 farmers.
Anything. Pick your large industry. There's about 4 to 6 companies that run it.
And whose fucking fault is that?
It is their fault, and at the same time, it's the reason that there's not 1 instead of 6.
Yeah.
Those rules are in place because otherwise one of them, the largest one of those 6, would just buy the other 5. Well, they'd buy the smallest one and then buy the second smallest, then the third smallest, until there's 1. We're getting off track.
Yeah. There's only 3 because there's otherwise there would be either a lot more or just 1. It would be either or, right? And there would only be 1. It would only ever be 1 because they get to influence the referees. Still, they can still influence the referees to manipulate rules and regulations to keep little guys out of the race. Anyway, not the point. I had to get the last word. It's autism. I'm sorry.
No, I can't wait. I was going to go just in like some final, I guess, good things about it. We talked about the visuals a lot. For the terrible accent at the beginning, the rest of the time I did not. I thought Sandler did fine with it as soon as he gave up on the accent. I always love hearing Paul Dano, even if I didn't get to see him.
Yeah, great for his acting. Another nitpick is stop saying skinny human.
Oh God!
Stop saying it. Number one, he's not.
One of the first things I thought is this cosmic. They didn't find it. Usually, like astronauts were in amazing shape.
Yeah, you usually have to be in amazing shape. Do you know why? Because they have to run on a treadmill 2 hours a goddamn day.
Yeah,
he's been in space for 6 months. He's not in better shape.
The physical, the things your body has to endure to get off Earth to begin with.
Yeah,
like there's a reason they were like the astronauts were like a combination of scientists and Air Force pilots.
Yeah.
Yes,
and, and not just like not just like Air Force
Any Air
pilot.
Force, yeah.
Like the test pilots, the ones that are like, hey, this brand new thing, go break it.
We don't know if it works yet.
Yeah.
You tell us.
Good luck. How fast does it go? You're about to find out, bud.
How fast faster than anything else we've built,
Yeah.
but we don't know yet.
Yeah. You better be good at hooking,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, this movie, like I said, has been a movie that I've thought about way more than rewatched or like consumed more of. And I guess that's a good thing because it's just been chewier and chewier to me. And it's really just been the question of like, is Janusz real or not? Which I don't necessarily see as a bad thing. And if a movie or any piece of media gets you to think about it long term and come up with your own theories or ideas of what's going on in it, good. That's the whole point of art, right?
Yeah.
So I guess in that regard, great. And acting wise, I across the board thought was pretty good, except for Adam Sandler's horrible accent attempt. And thank God it's an attempt instead of a prolonged experience. But I'm in retrospect, days after rewatching the movie, I am pleasantly surprised at how much I like the movie. While still having tons of issues with it, obviously.
While the first 15 minutes went by with me really excited for what I thought was going to surprise me into a quite good movie,
Yeah.
I racked my brain for about a day and a half to 2 days, begging to convince myself that the alien wasn't real. Came to the conclusion that the movie wants me to think it is real, and stopped thinking about the movie from that point on.
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm done. If this is supposed to be an alien in a movie, they've ruined whatever else it could have been.
Yeah.
In that way.
Yeah.
I don't think anything that he said to her should have given him absolution. I mean,
No.
again, it's horribly cruel to leave him when she did.
Yeah.
But there's no reason for them to get back together, no matter what he's realized on his own while being gone.
Right. Yep.
So I didn't like the conclusion. I didn't. I just couldn't convince myself that it was a very well placed metaphor about a person learning about themselves and coming to to know his own mistakes. I probably shouldn't drink during these.
You grabbed your heart hard. I thought you were about to have a heart attack right here.
Yeah, well, don't wait till you get to be my age.
I might have a heart attack by that point.
Oh my God.
That's very funny because that's a joke for just you and me.
Yeah. I'm sure Justin gets it.
I haven't told. I haven't.
I wouldn't tell anybody either.
Yeah, I haven't told many.
Your heart attack's going to ruin another wedding.
That's what I'm hoping for. I mean, have you ever ruined a wedding? The high.
Oh yeah, I would imagine. Yeah,
No, I've never been more embarrassed in my life. Thank you. Thanks for bringing it up again.
it's very. You want to know why I've never ruined a wedding? I'm 38 years old.
Yeah, you haven't been invited to many?
I've been to 4 weddings in my entire life.
Hell yeah.
That is not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
2 of them was the same man getting married.
That's. Oh yeah. But to sidetrack, to take us off of that line of thinking for a second and back to the movie, and you talking about racking your brain, wanting Janusz to be fake, and then the movie trying to convince you that he's real. It kind of brings me back to the second part of my theory of is he real or not, which I never really got to earlier. Is I'm I think that this is gonna sound this is gonna get out there a little bit, okay? So Janusz tells us that the cloud that we're going to is he calls it a physical representation of energy that once brought about the existence of the universe. The cloud is made up of numerous vibrations and moments from the beginning of time till the end, right? So I think that I'm interpreting this as the cloud is a physical manifestation of a part of consciousness as a whole that is just floating around in space, and it has found interest in humanity and is just kind of hanging out and observing humanity and trying to learn as much about it as it can, and just kind of like the universe looking back at itself, right? Because like we're all conscious, right? We're all conscious beings, and we exist in the universe. It's just the universe itself is paying attention to humanity, and that's what the cloud is. And I'm not convinced that as soon as Jacob gets close to it, that the cloud doesn't send out like a probe. And this probe is the spider.
I don't want to say what the name because I've been calling him Janos and you've been calling him Janos, and I didn't want to.
The spelling is the same.
Yeah.
It's same enough. It's all Russian to me, you know. But I think that the cloud is sending out this probe of Janusz, who may have existed for real at some point, and maybe their species did get completely wiped out by the Grumpets, and maybe the cloud was there to witness it, or not, because the cloud has got vibrations of everything that has ever existed. And Janusz tells us that he's been around since the beginning, and he's going to be around till the end, but yet he knows he's infected with the Grumpets. That may have been part of his lie. You know, he does tell Yakov, I haven't been honest with you. I didn't make it out in time, and I am infected by these things. And then he deteriorates, gets consumed by the parasites or whatever. But I think that this, the spider is both a representation of Yakov's mind and a manifestation from the cloud. Like his mental state allowed the probe more access to his brain, and his mental state, and his memories. That's why I don't know if that's why, but maybe that's why he doesn't want to be touched, and he gets really offended when you do touch him. For some reason, that's why I think he changes size and shape a whole bunch throughout the movie. I think this is why he has, the spider seemingly has the ability to telepathically dig into his memories whenever it wants, and has no care for when Yakov wants to do it or not. He's just like, no, I need to see more. Give me more, because it's the cloud of consciousness sitting outside that wants to see more, not the spider. You know.
I thought I was the one that was supposed to like these movies more, and you were supposed to nitpick them more. I feel like that happened more often. I feel like that happened both with Section 31 and Mickey 17.
What, that you nitpicked it more than me?
No, that I was that I defended them more.
But
and
now it's
you're
my
defending
turn.
this one. Yeah.
I would defend the artsy ones.
Yeah. Okay.
You defend the slop. I'll defend the art.
You defend the Adam Sandler movies, and I'll defend the Star Trek movies.
All right, fair, good point. All right, god damn, ow.
So Adam Sandler in his next high art film.
Coming from the guy who hasn't seen Uncut Gems.
I've never seen him do a dramatic role. I didn't admit that on this podcast yet, but I did tell you that before.
Yeah. So you've never seen Punch Drunk Love with Hoffman?
No.
It's a great movie.
I think I saw 5 minutes of Spanglish on TV once.
All right. Well, That's gross.
I think the last Adam Sandler movie I saw was Big Daddy.
Big Daddy. It's a good movie.
It is a good movie.
It's a good movie. But you should see Click. That's his first dramatic role.
That's dramatic.
It's like the comedy
in
movie
between.
that it's the comedy movie it's a comedy, right? But like people are kind of surprised by his acting in it, you know?
Yeah. Well, having never seen him do dramatic roles before, like I said, I thought he did fucking really good after he dropped the accent.
Yeah, that's my biggest issue with his acting in this movie is that accent.
Yeah.
You know, I guess there's also something that we can nitpick is like, isn't he a bit old to be an astronaut? He's old and pudgy. He's too old and too pudgy to be an astronaut.
This whole movie to me implies that they didn't plan on him coming back. They sent one guy by himself on a mission, just like, I don't give a fuck if this. You know what? Let's grab a shuttle from like the 90s and just like barely update it. Like a lot of that stuff just did not look like.
Yeah. There's big chunky mechanical switches everywhere.
Yeah.
I see some garden hose faucets in there someplace, you know?
Yeah.
There's big shut off valves, you know, for like hot water tanks.
Yeah, even like all the little switches on the computer programs, the little computer itself, the little laptop looking thing itself looked like a 1998 green screen. Like,
and I'm not saying that it needs to be it needs to be. I need to see LCATs everywhere, like the interface that the Star Trek uses,
and I don't want it to.
I don't want
at
flat
all
screens.
Yeah.
I don't want.
It looked
touch screens.
really great.
I do like the old school look, that like that retro sci-fi vibe, right? Like Alien, like that kind of like yeah. I love that aesthetic.
Very utilitarian.
Yeah. But it's just not very practical anymore. It's not practical in a setting unless that's part of the point. Is that setting? You know what I mean?
No, they threw him out there in trash. They're like, they have this old man fly out there.
Yeah. And then we get
this old pudgy bastard up in space and let him go.
He goes crazy, jumps outside, and then they send him. Let's send this old pudgy fucking guy out there to go collect dust that we can't actually collect.
Well, they didn't know that.
Yeah, that's true. We didn't know that, but he can't collect it. He can't do anything about it. And then he gets picked up by the Koreans, who are in a much better ship.
It's so clean and sleek.
If this is what you guys
could have done. It was Star Trek.
Yeah,
it was beautiful.
It was gorgeous. It looked like the Rocinante from The Expanse. Looked like, wow, this looks real. If this is what you guys could do with an extra day, I think you guys should have had another guy and a better ship.
Oh, they had white suits that looked very clean.
Yeah,
I mean, he just looked dirty the whole time and grungy.
He's Russian. He is
everything
dirty.
Everything was off white, like somebody had been smoking in that shuttle for 20 years.
They were. Somebody was smoking in there while they were building it. They were like, "This is aerospace certified." Yeah.
We test whether it's airtight based on whether smoke comes out of the capsule.
See, no leak. Airtight. Anything else?
Oh no, I've said too much. Probably.
I got everything I wanted off my chest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm surprised you're not ripping into me for having such a like. You telling me that God's sitting out at the edge of the solar system, huh? You telling me that consciousness, the God of the universe, is sitting out there and is interested in us? Surprised you're not ripping on me for this.
That would be I mean, it's a fine movie premise. I'm fine with a movie kind of looking like sci-fi but being fantasy. Like, I like Star Wars. But I would redefine it as non-sci-fi. Like sci-fi can have the alien be real in the story and still be a metaphor for somebody learning a lesson. Fantasy is it was never real. There's something more metaphysical there, which I do believe that describing it that way turns it more into metaphysical, gods, fantasy, spiritual, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think that would make it a bad movie in any way. It would just be, yeah, it would just be different. If the alien is real, then it's sci-fi, and the sci-fi is still a metaphor for a person going on a journey to learn the mistakes of his life. If it's a fantasy, then yeah, the metaphysical consciousness of the universe is teaching him that lesson rather than his own journey teaching him that lesson, or a natural other being in the world teaching him that lesson.
I gotcha. I don't necessarily think that there's that much of a difference. Like, like just because those are the words I'm using for the for this conversation doesn't necessarily mean it's not real. You know, just because I'm using like consciousness and stuff like that. And like this is just a big cloud of consciousness. It could be a life form. You know, we've seen weird life forms in Star Trek and stuff like that, right?
I don't like the episodes where they get a little metaphysical.
I don't like the stuff that makes me think. I don't want to think that hard.
They're all supposed to make you think. I don't need a godlike figure to show up in Star Trek, and I kind of find them annoying.
Well, first off, Q is awesome. But
John Delancey's charming.
Yeah,
The Q, the character, is just. Ugh.
I like you know the saying of like if you go back in time with like any kind of piece of technology now, right? It would be seen as witchcraft and wizardry and stuff like that. And I can't remember the exact Clark phrase at the moment about like going back in time and like wizardry and stuff like that. But I don't necessarily know if that that idea doesn't translate to other forms of being, you know, of like just because we don't have any concept of an entity or a creature that takes the form of a big cloud out in space floating around and is able to telepathically fuck with people or interact in this way doesn't mean it's a god, you know. It's just the words we're using, you know what I mean? And I wouldn't be as fast. I guess my point is I'm not as
so the
quick.
Consciousness of the whole universe.
Maybe or maybe not. Maybe or maybe not.
Now we're talking about back to track. We're talking about the difference between a Q and a Nagilum.
Oh man,
seeming quite powerful and larger than and almost magical because you don't understand it, but
Sure.
It's not universal and it's not
It's very regional. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not and it has its own limits and I mean cuz I mean that phrase in and of itself, the species technologically advanced enough would appear to be wizards or whatever, is, if not brought up directly, is kind of who watches the Watchers.
The Jason Alexander episode? No, Who Watches the Watchers is
Next Gen.
Next Gen.
There's a
I'm thinking of Someone to Watch Over Me is the name of the Voyager episode.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, because she sings that song in that? Okay.
Yeah. Wow. This is the flavor of autism I was given, huh?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So Who Watches the Watchers is the one where a group of what they keep referring to as proto-Vulcans was being spied on out of a duck blind. The duck blind messes up. A guy gets injured down on the planet. Dr. Crusher beams him up. he has a vague recollection of having his life saved, and everybody where he's getting his life saved looking up to a man named Picard, and they start to worship him as a god. And he goes through and tries to explain to them that he is not by bringing up another woman onto a ship and showing her down on their planet, which is an insane way to think you'll show that you're not God.
Let me show another member of the species miracles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to see miracles, and
Yeah.
you want to look down upon your planet
yeah.
from on high.
Right. Yeah, in the lap of luxury.
Come up to Mount Olympus.
Come to Mount Olympus. Hang out with the gods.
I will prove I am not God.
Drink, party, sing, and dance with us. Yeah, I am no god. Just while you're here, call me captain.
Luckily, out of nowhere, somebody
me Zeus,
dies in the medical bay right then for no reason. They're not
Thank
going
God.
through anything.
Yeah, thank God, right?
That's what she said. She didn't believe him.
You can save him. Why aren't you saving him? No, we can't. We have limits. We can't do it.
Yeah.
Thank goodness they have limits and they can't do it.
But I think there does need to be some crossover to where something is advanced. I mean, it's kind of the BS about there was another episode of Next Gen where somebody evolves into a being of light in like an instant, and their people are on the way to evolve there. And I was like, this just went like, it doesn't evolve in an instant. If you could show some sort of slow evolution, then I would believe this. But I almost feel like that episode gets into fantasy where he is going to become. I mean, he already does godlike things, but I'm fine with godlike things if it is at its base supposed to be somewhat natural. And I didn't like The Traveler because I didn't like the consciousness and time and space are all interchangeable and get mixed up into this like beautiful world of art. And it's just like, no, consciousness is an emerging property of your mind. It's not, or an emergent property of your mind. It's not metaphysical.
Maybe. Maybe. Because like to get to that point of self-realization of like, oh, consciousness is just a thing that's my brain is just doing, opposed to something that I have any kind of agency over, is to give up the idea of free will. And if you have to, sure, that's okay, but that takes such a what am I trying to say? It's like it takes so much of the fun out of existence that I can't get there,
I don't know if it means you have to give up free will.
Sure you do. Because like if consciousness is just happening to you, then all of your thoughts are just happening. You don't have any agency on what you're thinking, when you're thinking about it, or how you're thinking about it.
Why?
Because it's just your brain chemistry doing it. You don't have any control over it. It's just happening to you.
Well, that's like saying that just because I think that there are what do I want to say? Just because I think that electricity shoots down my arm to move my hand, that I can't decide to put my hand on my knee right now.
It's an illusion that you're thinking of, though. It's like you can't. Your brain is telling your heart to beat right now, right? You can't think your heart to stop beating. You're right. And if you're really, really good at self-control, then maybe you could slow it down a little bit, or you could control, having a higher heart rate or a lower heart rate. But you can't stop it from doing that thing, right?
Yeah.
From beating. Like your hand, you think that you're having the thought of moving your hand, but that's an illusion that your brain is giving you so that you won't go crazy, because you actually don't have any free will. You're moving your hand. I'm moving my fingers right now and hands to make the point, because that's just what my brain does. this section of combination of neurons just needs to express itself this way, not anything consciously being done. You know, it's just happening to me. If that's the case, if not, then I'm doing this because this is part of who I am, and this is the way that I've chosen to express myself. You know what I mean? No.
Somewhat,
Yeah,
but I'm actually very happy right now because I'm glad that I now think that this is where you got your new religiosity from, rather than where I assumed it came from.
Oh yeah, no, it's all anything that's like my religious aspects of my thinking is only it's all been a direct rejection of Sam Harris. I won't even lie to you, who is a hardcore atheist who is very into meditation and the lack of free will and stuff like that. And I just can't follow him. I've tried. I used to be very into Sam Harris and listening to him and reading all of his books and stuff. I just can't do it, and I needed because if I believed what he did, if I actually drank his Kool-Aid, I would have to kill myself.
I've hated plenty of atheists for being quite annoying, but I don't need to go the exact.
It's not even.
But I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's more philosophical even than that. With the kind of in that neurons and cells are made up of atoms, and atoms are move in physical ways, and physics is predeterminate in that they move based on things like inertia and forces acting upon them, and then as you expand that to something larger, it makes everything automatic and predetermined ahead of time. And so it's a rejection of that. Whereas the entire time I was worried that you got your religiosity because you were like, well, hopefully, to bring this back to an earlier conversation, hopefully God will be there to stop it when something that gets a slightly larger market share won't just take over something smaller and take over something smaller till it's a monopoly as a natural course of actions long before they even need to. There could be no referees, and that would be the natural outcome of it, but not for God, the invisible hand. So I'm actually much happier that this is the direction you came at it from.
I see. I see. That well, if you put it that way, that's quite worrying.
This is like a relief for me. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, fuck. I hate the idea of not having free will myself, and I can't even really place that as that much different, but I also think that sometimes it's overblown, the connection of the physics into biology. Like maybe I can't make a good enough argument for real will so much as I don't know, a body stops itself if it's alive and isn't all inertia. Then that's probably weak sauce to a more developed philosopher thinking about these exact things. But I feel like there are a lot of connections being made there that I don't necessarily think are necessary. So that I can convince myself that I have free will without it being granted to me by some more metaphysical, if not deity, something supernatural-ish.
I see. Yeah.
So we were talking about Spaceman? Is that what we were?
Yeah. I mean that's a pretty good place to end if you're down.
Yeah, I'm down.
All right, beautiful. Well, good night.
Good night, everybody. This has been Unbearable.
Wow. Oh, that is pretty fucking unbearable.
We won't have an opening, but we'll have a close up.
Have a beautiful, well choreographed closer. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on X and Instagram and all those places. Unbearable. It's all Unbearable everywhere. And we'll see you next time where we'll talk about. What are we going to talk about next time?
I thought we were going to go back to Trek.
Yeah, we're going back to Trek.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. What's the name of that movie?
Can we even call our podcast Unbearable if we watch a great Star Trek classic like The Wrath of Khan?
We'll find things that are unbearable about it.
Oh, there are.
And if there isn't, then we will just be unbearable about Star Trek.
Oh, good point.
See?
Yeah.
It all works.
Yeah.
It's all turtles all the way down.
Yeah, there was probably nothing we could do about this. It was predetermined that it would work.
All right.